having to join the call, which is fantastic. And yeah, thank you for your patience, lady. So can I see who's in the chat? Oh, right, we've got it all over. Folkestone, Devon, Horsham. Oh, I used to go over that way, and also an awful lot, Zara, that way. And Dunblane, Scotland, beautiful. So fantastic. Right. Okay, then. So now I've actually got things that are perfectly working. Well, I say perfectly, all best laid plans. So, right. So this morning, before I kick off in full earnest, and we've got Vanessa coming into the room, which is fantastic. I'd like to leave you with this thought. So I read an article in the World Economic Forum, I think it was about a month ago, and it said that the gender bias gap within the workplace is going to take over 62 years to close in Northern Europe, 70 years in the rest of Europe, and 160 years in North America. So-called advanced cultures. But I don't know about you, lovely ladies, but I'm not willing to wait that long. So I want to be one of the trailblazers to make a change, because the only way we can make change is by taking action ourselves. And by taking action, that means that we have to start taking control of our own destiny. And this is why this is so important today, about learning this, being able to be confident in saying no. So I'd love to see a 1 in the chat if you want to be one of those trailblazers. That's fantastic to see. So the question is where are you now? So maybe the vision that you've got in mind for yourself is not being realised in the way that you hoped anymore. And as a result, you're becoming more frustrated, demotivated. And of course, you can't be like that because people are looking to you for direction. And the problem with that is that your sleep might be beginning to deteriorate. Or potentially you're becoming busier and busier in life because you're taking all these tasks. And as a result, you're finding yourself becoming even more tired, and you've got no time to solve the problems that need solving. And you're beginning to get a little bit resentful of the people around you because you can see them laying back, just generally getting on with their job. And you don't want to be like that. Or possibly you're finding that you are feeling like an imposter, and you're wondering how you got in the role that you're in, and you wonder when you're going to get found out. And as a result, once again, you're volunteering all of the time because you're trying to prove yourself, and you're getting tired and burnt out. Or perhaps you are feeling like every single day is like Groundhog Day and nothing seems to be changing. And you feel like you've hit that concrete ceiling, and you wonder what the future has in mind for you. But you know, it's not this. And as a result, you might be feeling a little bit less tolerant with the people around you, whether that's your friends, your colleagues, your family, and it's affecting your relationships. The question is where would you like to be instead? Where would you like to be? Maybe, or should I say, envisage that time where the key people in your life are all striving for a common direction. And hang on, we've got another lady coming. Yeah, you're all striving towards a common direction, and your values, your beliefs are all aligned, and you're all achieving things successfully together. Or visualize that time when you look at your alarm clock at 6:05 in the morning, but do you know what? You don't actually mind, because you are finally sleeping like a baby, because you're loving the life that you want to live. Or picture that time where you are feeling empowered and motivated and energized. Good morning. And you are finally living the life that you want to live, and you're feeling creative and innovative. And you know what? People are knocking on your door for you to come and work with them or for them, or for you because they're loving the culture that you have created. And finally, envisage that time where you finally got more personal freedom and you're spending time with either your family, your friends, or do you know what? You're actually spending it alone, but no one is disturbing your peace. Now, the thing is if you are in a situation where you're over here and getting frustrated or tired, then how are you going to get to this other side? How are you going to close the gap for the future that you would love to have? Now, I believe that you're going to get there by rediscovering your why. And what do I mean by rediscovering your why? I mean about what gives you passion, what gives you purpose, what gives you joy in life. Take, for example, people like Richard Branson. He not only lives his purpose, he breathes it. And every single person around him has clarity of purpose, his purpose. And as a result of that, it means that they either want to work for him, they want to buy from him, or in some cases, they actually buy his company from him because they love what he's created. And the question is why is it important now? Now, according to KPMG, they have said that in North America, C-suite America, over 75% of female executives and leaders have suffered with burnout and imposter syndrome at one time or another. Consider that for the rest of the globe. And the question is that by having a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, a sense of value can change an situation. And interestingly, I read with Psychology today that we have over 50,000 thoughts per day, although the other day I was on a call and someone has actually said it's much more now, is that we have over 50,000 thoughts per day, many of them subconscious and you're not aware of them. And over 50% of them are negative thoughts. And bizarrely, 90% of those are from the previous day. Which is crazy, really. And yet we can change that negative thoughts to positive ones by having a sense of belief and a sense of purpose. And then, of course, the NHS have also cited that it has multiple benefits for you, your mental health, improving your well-being, and of course, your cognitive functioning. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. And then finally, why is it important now? Well, I've already said the gender bias gap is going to take over 62 years in just Northern Europe alone. So obviously we need to make that change now. And that's why it's important for us to change the narrative that we're saying to each other, saying to ourselves that we can't, because we can. We are important and we can make change within the organisation, and we can do it by leading with confidence and having the power to say no. We also have got the situation with COVID where we have also been realised that we can spend more time with our families, with our friends. So when we do go to work, we want to make sure that we are doing something we love and that we love with purpose and passion. And then there's the other pandemic. Since COVID, burnout and imposter syndrome and mental health issues have more than doubled. So we need to make that change now. We need to help ourselves stop burning out, because the only people that are going to change that is ourselves. And I would say, why would you listen to me right now? And normally I would do a big story, but I'm going to cut it short just by saying it took me 50 years to realise the people pleaser in me is not a positive trait to achieve. It wasn't serving my family, it wasn't serving me. And it caused me in January 2020 to have full burnout. Now, I thought my redundancy was the cause of the burnout, but do you know what? In reality, it was nothing to do with that. It was the final nail in the coffin. But the reality is that it was everything before that. It's all of the things that I've spoken about and we'll talk about today. Me always trying to prove myself because I had the imposter syndrome. Feeling like I needed to volunteer for everything so I could show up as the leader that I was. Feeling that, saying yes meant that people would equate that to being nice. And the reality is it wasn't at all. All of the things before that was actually causing me to burn out because I was carrying everybody and everything. And the thing I've learned now is to actually learn to please myself and say no. And it's had such a positive impact on me. So, and all of that now I've been able to put, so from the burnout, I've now created, and I say creative because it's been over the last 25 years of my experience, the freedom transformation formula, and which has helped me and my clients to bounce back from burnout, but without compromising their dreams or career. And I'm going to share how I've actually achieved that using my freedom transformation formula, which I'm going to share with you in a moment. But before I go any further, I'd just like to ask the question again. Put a 2 in the chat if you want to make a change in your world, that you want to learn with confidence and harness the power of saying no. Put a 2 in the chat if you'd like to do that. And I'm looking forward to continuing. That's what I love to see. Thank you, Vanessa. That's good to see. Yep. Yep. Fantastic. So what I'm going to do right now is going to share my desktop. And as I said to some of the ladies on the call previously, I've got a few technical issues that's happening in the sense that my PowerPoint is on the screen next to me. And hopefully you guys can see it. But when it flashes off, you lot will still be able to see it. I won't. So hopefully it's going to go all okay. So what I'd like to share with you right now is my freedom transformation formula, which is the way in which I help my clients to bounce back from burnout without compromising their dreams and to rediscover their why so they can become even more fulfilled and successful in life, personally and professionally. Can you all see that okay? Can you just put a 2 in the chat if that is a problem? Thank you, Vicky. I appreciate that. Cheers. Right. Okay, then. So thank you, Zara. Appreciated. So I am going to skip over these quickly because obviously I want to focus on what's important today about learning to say no. But the first key stage is reset. And what do I mean by reset? It's about resetting where you are in relation to your stress levels. Because the problem I often see with female executives, leaders, entrepreneurs, and coaches is that they don't realize the damage it can have on their mental health and their well-being. It causes things like brain fog, memory loss, tongue-tiedness, so, things like rashes, and problems with your like stomach, IBS, all of those kind of things. It can have an impact on our performance. It can cause things like self-sabotage, like eating and drinking too much. It can also cause things like, like I've said before, it can impact our relationships because we're perhaps being a little bit more emotional than we would be normally. And obviously, when we're showing up as a leader within an organisation or we're running our own organisations, if we're not, being able to manage our daily stresses, then it's going to impact the way we perform within our organisation and the way that we show up. And yet, when my clients use the stress-free risk resolution, it helps them to recognise their key drivers for stress. What's triggering those events, so they're then able to look at different alternative ways to manage them. It helps them to identify things like their key indicators for stress, like I've mentioned before, the headaches, the brain fog. And then you're then able to, it then helps my clients to sort them in a way so they can see the patterns between them and be able to manage them in a much better way. And then, of course, kickstart them into solutions to deliver them immediate. Now, there would be immediate quick wins, And then, of course, there'll be other things that will take longer, because it's like peeling back an onion. And it takes that much longer to actually resolve. But by creating awareness, it makes it so much better. Then the next stage is about re-injecting vitality back into your life and energy. Because the problem I see with many female executive leaders, entrepreneurs, and coaches is that they don't recognize when they're feeling stressed and tired. And when they don't recognize it, they keep on soldiering on regardless. And they also don't want to admit it to others, because they don't want to be seen as being weak or feeling like they're being judged for it. And when they don't admit to it, that means that they're going to struggle even further. I mean, as an example, is that how many, in fact, I'm going to ask you to put a 5 in the chat if you recognize this situation, not just with you, but other people. When you stayed later at work because somebody else is at work, and you think, oh, I've got to stay a little bit longer, because if I leave before then, I'm going to be judged. I'm going to be seen as weak. And the mad thing is that the individual across the other side of the room is doing exactly the same thing, and they're waiting for you to leave. So, which is crazy. And then, of course, we've got the situation that we don't take well-needed holidays. It's almost like a badge of honor when we don't. And companies encourage it as well. And the problem is that the old phrase is that you can't drink from an empty cup. And when you can't drink from an empty cup, it means that you don't have the resources or capacity to help anybody anyway. You can't help yourself. So you've got to learn to look after yourself first. What's the old saying? Is you've got to put on your oxygen mask on first. Because when you don't, then the people next to you, the people that love you, the people that care for you, are watching you slowly die inside. And yet, when my clients use the GEMS Wellbeing Journey, it helps them to learn to stop. It teaches them that the art of gratitude and being able to do things like meditation and yoga. So they do have the energy, they do have the capacity to not only perform at their greatest, but also be able to recuperate from being the stress-free life or the stressed life that they're in. Because both of these work hand in hand. If you are actually identifying stress in your life and you've also got lack of energy, then in both sides, you're not going to be able to go through that recuperation. And that's what it helps my clients to do, is to recuperate so they can perform at their highest within the organisation. And then we have reflect, which is all about introspection, being able to look inwardly. Because do you know what? All of the answers are within to help you to become even more confident. And the problem that I see with many female executive leaders and entrepreneurs is that they don't understand the connections between some of their behaviours and the decisions that they've made. And as a result of that, they've got these limiting beliefs that are holding them back from being the leader that they want to be, whether it's in their own organisation or within an organisation that they're in. And of course, when they've got those limiting beliefs, it's going to stop them from achieving their full potential and living the life that they deserve. And it's not just financial value, it's about having the freedom to do what you love. And yet when my clients use the Empowering Growth Generator, it helps them to reflect on the past, understand what went well, what didn't go so well, when did things change, and what can they implement to improve that. Now, as an example, is anybody familiar, and if you are, put a 6 in the chat, familiar with Joe Dispenza? Great. Now, for anybody that knows Joe Dispenza, one of the things that he says is that we have, by the time we're 35 years old, we've wired our personalities. And the thing is if we do the same thing day in, day out, over and over again, then we're not going to be able to change that. But we can change that by rewiring the way we think, changing our personalities. And part of that is learning to understand ourselves, understand what's programmed our patterns of belief. And that's what helps my clients, is to help them to reprogram their patterns of belief, rewire them so they can have self-confidence, self-belief, self-love, and be able to achieve everything that they want to achieve within their organisation. And then finally, is all about rediscovering your why. And as I've already mentioned, being able to do what you love and what gives you purpose and passion. Because the problem I often see with my clients, whether it's female executive leaders, entrepreneurs, coaches, executives, the problem I see is that they're so focused on the what and the how and suffering this Groundhog Day and not realizing what their why is. They're not enjoying what they're doing. They're bored out of their minds, which is stopping them from achieving their full potential and doing what they love. It's rather like you booking a holiday with no destination in mind. And you take off on the plane, you keep on flying around and flying around. And eventually the fuel runs out. And when the fuel runs out, it means that you just land anywhere. Now, you could land in a war zone. And you know what? I have no desire to land in a war zone. And I'm sure many of you would not have your holiday in a war zone. So, and that's why it's so important to find your why. And yet when my clients use the Brilliant Smile solution, it helps them to rediscover their why. It helps them to not only rediscover their why, but establish what their values and their beliefs are. So everything is in balance, both personally and professionally. And as a result of that, they can either transform within the organisation they're in, or indeed may transform elsewhere and create their own organisation, their own business, something that they love with passion and purpose. And I build them a pathway of change to achieve that so they can have the results that they deserve. Now, today, what I'm going to be focusing on is the stress-free risk resolution. And I'm not going into full detail on this at the moment because the interest of time, because my focus is going to be all about why it's so important for you to say no. Now, my stress-free risk resolution has 4 key steps to achieve the results. So what I'd like you to do right now is to write down on a piece of paper on the left-hand side, RISK. And for the interest of the day, I'm going to be focusing on the first pillar, which is all about recognition. It's recognizing your key drivers for stress. And what do I mean by that? Quite often, we don't know what's causing our stress levels. Now, our stress levels can be for many reasons. And I know it's important that we have that stress trigger, that fight, flight, fright pattern. And it's important to be there because it protects us. But the main reason that was there in the first instance was that, you know, way back, you know, thousands of years, you know, when they had things like saber-toothed tigers and all those kind of things, we needed that response, that instant response. When there's things like an accident with a car or something like that, we need that response to respond quickly. But I don't know about you, but I've not seen many saber-toothed tigers these days. So it's not needed all the time. But the problem is, is it? So, I wonder how that happened. There you go. Thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate that. And it's good that you can still see my slides. I appreciate it. So I don't know about you, but I haven't seen many saber-toothed tigers these days, but it's still important for that tool to work. But the problem is our stress levels kick in at times when we don't need it. And that's where the anxiety kicks in. And we need to be aware of those situations so we can manage that in a much better way when it does occur. And that could be someone that we work with. It could be someone that's close to us. It doesn't matter how much we love them. It's almost like touching a litmus paper when they do certain things. And unless we understand what it is that they do, how can we actually manage that in a much better way the next time around? So instead of reacting and the emotional monkey, as I like to say it, kicking in, we can then manage it in a much more controlled manner. We're responding to the situation in a controlled way. Now, for myself, one of the things that I used to realize, as I've already mentioned, is that I was a people pleaser. It took me to realize that I was a people pleaser, that I was also saying yes to everything, trying to keep everybody else happy. And because I was saying yes to everything, that was the cause of me actually becoming even more tired. Now, I'm going to talk about one of my clients right now. And in fact, actually, this was only last week. So one of my clients, when I spoke to her, she was so frustrated, so anxious, and generally pissed off with the world. Excuse my language, but that's how she was. She was miserable. She hated her job, started to hate people, and particularly the people she was serving. Now, she's a really, really kind person. She does things like charity work and all those kind of things. And a lot of the stuff that she's doing is based on a voluntary basis. And the people that she's actually serving are getting what she's giving them as it's a gift. It's being funded. So it's not a right, it's something that they're being funded with. And yet they was treating her in a disrespectful way. There was like sending emails at 2 o'clock in the morning. They was abusing her, shouting at her, and all those kind of things, which she didn't deserve. Now, one of the things that I did say to her is that, yeah, I appreciate that you're frustrated with them, but have you put any boundaries yourself in place? Have you told them that these are the parameters? This is the time of day that I'm actually working with you between 9 and 12, and it's finished. And she said, no. And of course, without us setting those boundaries, setting those expectations, the other person's not going to realize that actually, they don't realize that they're actually upsetting you, disrespecting you, all of the things that are associated with that, and disrespecting your time and the value that you deliver. And immediately she implemented, after the call, she put it on her wall. In fact, I invited her to put it on her wall, that she actually set an out of office after 12 o'clock, that she wasn't available. She also made sure in a message that she is serving them with these particular vouchers between 9 and 12. And that during the night, when these emails come in, again, it was immediately going towards this out of office. And do you know the wonderful thing about that? Is it's now meant that between 9 and 12, she is actually getting them come to her. Her afternoons are spent doing what she's enjoying. And when it gets to the evening, she's far happier. She's actually enjoying the evening with her family like she should do, rather than being anxious and frustrated and miserable. And of course, it meant that it set a boundary with the people that she's actually serving. So she's realized that actually they're not all a problem, it's only the few. And no longer is she feeling that hatred that she was beginning to have, which she didn't want to have because she loves her job. All by making one small change. Now, I'm not saying that it's resolved everything, but what I can say is that when she came on the call yesterday, she was smiling, she was happy and feeling far more energized. So, yes, Vicky, it was. And do you know what? The win from that as well is it also meant that I was smiling. It made me even more energized and felt really positive, knowing that one small change has made a significant change to herself. So before I continue, is like what I would like to do, if that's okay with you right now, if that's going to work, I'd like to invite you to my burnout breakthrough accelerator. Is it okay if I share that with you right now? And can you put a 6 in the chat if that's okay? I'd just love to share that with you right now. Excellent. Thank you, Joe, Vicky. So, okay, Vanessa, thank you. So what is the burnout breakthrough accelerator? Now, first of all, I'd like to say that this is a launch price offer. Now, why is it a launch price offer? It's the first time I'm holding this event at this specific retreat. And it's a beautiful location, and it's got a beautiful swimming pool and everything like that I'm going to talk about with you right now. But the reason why I wanted to share this with you is that I want the opportunity for you all to see what this launch price offer is. And the only thing that I'd be asking for anybody that's attending is that the aim is that I want your feedback so you can help me to make it even better next time round. And the reason why I want to make it even better next time round is because I want to make sure that I am serving my clients to the best level and giving them the quality of service that they deserve so they can become even more stress-free. So I'd like to continue right now. So what is the Burnout Breakthrough Accelerator? So first of all, it is a 3-day live event with masterclasses, yoga and meditation. And the workshops will be held by myself, but we'll be having breakout sessions. So you notice that there's yoga outside. Now, obviously, we'd only be doing yoga outside if the weather is beautiful. But I'll show you in a moment that there is a beautiful space to achieve that. And then, of course, the meditation, because I do know that when we're going through the stress-free risk resolution, I'm going to be honest, there's going to be things that will show up. So as a result of things showing up, you need to be able to bring yourself back into a balanced state of mind. And this is where the meditation will come in. Now, where is it being held? It's in the beautiful location of Bedfordshire, in a beautiful private residence. So there's not going to be anybody else that's going to be attending there, only the people that's part of the course itself. As you can see, there's space for doing yoga, a beautiful swimming pool, and there's also accommodation there. And that also includes all inclusive. So the food would be included on the weekend as well. So that's all inclusive for rooms, food, and the event itself. So you don't have to worry about organising any accommodation elsewhere. It also includes a 12-week programme, and that's live group Zoom calls, as well as online training material, which is recorded. Now, the online training material is something that you've got access to on an ongoing basis, and the 12-week Zoom calls, I am acutely aware that some individuals can't start them immediately, so we can make sure that it's at a date and time that fits in with your cycle. So you don't have to attend the event with already attending the 12-week programme. But what I do like about the live Zoom calls is, as I've realised with many, you see all these beautiful smiles on there, is that when you work on a call together, it makes people realise that you don't need to do things by yourself. You can actually do it. It doesn't mean, sorry, I'll rephrase that. It means that you're not alone, and you realise that you're not alone because other people are experiencing the same challenges that you are. Now, what is the investment? As I've said before, the investment is $525, and it's an all-inclusive retreat that's being held on the 8th of December. So if you'd like to scan the QR code so you can find out more information about it, there's an opportunity to do 2 instalments of $288 as well. And along with that is that you also get the opportunity for the 12-week program as well. So I'm going to talk about that in a moment in a bit more detail. So just as a breather, I'm going to just take some water there. So just to return to where I was previously, recognition. Why is it important to recognise? As I've already mentioned with myself, that recognition is the beginning of creating awareness of where you are on your stress-free journey. Because without us understanding and recognising our patterns of behaviour, then we can't change our patterns of behaviour. And as I've said, there might be individuals in our life. It might be doing things like this, doing webinars, make you feel stressed and anxious. It might be with people that you're working with, where they're your colleagues or people you report into. It might be going into busy places, but until you recognise what they are, then you can't change it. And this is where I'm going to be stepping into why it's so important for you to be able to learn to say no. Now, before I go any further, I don't know why it's just done that. Oh, sorry. I'm going to stop sharing. if I can, if it's going to let me stop sharing. So before I go any further, let me start by asking you a question. And if you do find that this is a challenge with either yourself or people in your life, do you find that you're saying yes to far more things than you should be? And if you are, then please put a 2 in the chat. Yeah. Yeah. Now, what I'd like to ask you before I go any further with that is, what do you think for yourself is a key driver for why you might be saying yes to everything? Just put that in the comments. I'd really appreciate that. And that might not be just for yourself, that might be for other people. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Wants everyone to feel good, ability to prove yourself. Now, some of the other reasons, the drivers for it in the first instance, is things like cultural expectations, the societal expectations, gender roles, and the behaviour and pattern that's been shaped around our values and beliefs as a child, whether it's with our parents, whether it's our teacher, our workplaces, our peers. And it creates a need for you to be accommodating and nurturing. And that's where the yes comes from. And these expectations then create an internalized pressure to avoid saying no, and you fear potential judgment or that backlash that's associated to it. Yes, indeed. Yeah. 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 Hope it will never come and I get peace of mind in that moment. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. There's also that desire to maintain harmony. Women prioritise maintaining harmonious relationships within the workplace. They fear disrupting these relationships because it might lead to them being seen as someone that's, going to create tension and all those kind of things. So they want to be harmonious. I know I used to be the one that, regardless of what happened, even if I was right, and one of my colleagues used to use it against me, he knew that I'd come in and apologise the next day for an argument that had gone on, even though I knew I was right. And he used to say, here she comes. She's just about to do it. So it was like 9:05. I was going to come up the stairs and I was going to apologise for something. And, it then makes you not show up as a leader that you are. Then, of course, you've got that lack of mentoring support where people don't actually give you the confidence that it's okay to say no. And then, of course, we've already mentioned it, that imposter syndrome, where you might be experiencing, self-doubts, the ability is to actually say no to anything, put my teeth back in. And the self-doubt stops you from saying yes to everything. No to everything. And you fear being exposed, being incapable or unworthy. And then, of course, you then fear the negative evaluations. If you say no to anything, you might be seen as someone that's uncommitted or uncooperative. And then, of course, you're then worrying about your career progression, which could hinder your progression of advancements within the organisation. So you then start becoming accommodating and saying yes to everything because you fear that you're not going to miss out on opportunities. And then, of course, we've got the superwoman stereotype and that sort of perfectionism that goes with it. So you fulfill multiple roles and you expect yourself to excel in every single one of them simultaneously. And when you fear not meeting these expectations, it can have make you have a reluctance to say no because you're worried that people might see you as incapable. And then, of course, if you're like me, I was in a male-dominated environment, and where women fear saying no. It then sort of puts you in a situation where you're also showing up as the individual that's incompetent, weak, or anything like that. I used to say yes all the time because I might think that others will judge me for not being capable of doing what I'm doing. So my next question would be to you, what do you believe could be the impact of you not saying no? Love to see it in the chat. Yeah. Yeah. Exhaustion, self-sacrifice, absolutely exhausted. Yeah. Yeah. And that list goes on. Yeah. Marriage breakdown. Yeah. And because the quality of life that you've got is being impacted because you're taking on more and more and more. And what's the old phrase? Give an inch and they'll take a mile. And yet there was others that was around me that never said, yes to anything unless it was something that was specifically associated to their skill set, their capabilities. And I'm not saying that you don't ever step out of your skill set, because it's good to, because you can develop yourself. But, sometimes you've just got to take a step back. Yeah, overwhelmed. And that sort of at night time, your brain going at 1,000 miles an hour. And there's the unfortunate thing about people thinking that, their brain is going at 1,000 miles an hour. How many of you thought, do you know what, my most creative time is at night time, at 12 o'clock at night? And I know one of the individuals on this call quite often is up very late at night, because that's when their creative time kicks in. But it's absolutely not true, because where your brain is going at 1,000 miles an hour, you're not sleeping properly. That's what's keeping you awake. And yet, when you actually take time to stop and not say no to all of the endless list of tasks that you've got building up and creating more anxiety, because you can focus on what's important, it means that the time that you do spend on it during the day is more focus. You've got more mental space. You've got more clarity. And you're not tired and stressed when you're doing it. So it means that what you take sort of an hour and a half to do at night time might take you only 15 minutes. And then, of course, as someone's already mentioned, you've got that work-life imbalancement. And then you also have that impaired well-being. Because when you continuously say yes, you're setting limiting beliefs. You're negatively impacting your own mental health and physical health. And as I've already mentioned, is that anxiety and sleep kicks in. And of course, it's going to decrease your effectiveness and productivity inside the organisation. And ironically, you're going to miss out on growth opportunities. And why are you going to miss out on growth opportunities? Because you're so focused on the small menial tasks. And I don't mean they're menial tasks, they're important tasks, but they're tasks that are not going to be focused on strategic projects, because you haven't got the time to actually do those strategic projects. So it's going to be allocated to somebody else, and they end up showing up as the performer and you don't. So it then has an impact on your growth. And then, of course, as we've already mentioned, it can diminish your self-worth and your self-confidence, because it erodes your self-worth and confidence when you keep on saying yes to everything, because you're not asserting boundaries, and you start feeling undervalued and taken for granted. Now, and I'm going to ask you to put a 9 in the chat if sometimes you feel a little bit of resentment to those around you because you feel like you're doing an endless list of tasks and they're sitting back on their laurels. yeah, indeed. And you know what? That's not serving you, and it's not serving them. And that's why it's so important for you to learn to say no. And then, of course, the gender stereotypes. We are perpetuating it by not setting boundaries. We're actually showing that it's okay to be accommodating and self-sacrificing. And it undermines the efforts and the value of yourself. And it hinders your progress within a culture, a work-life culture. And of course, you're also telling the rest of the organisation it's okay to treat people like that. The more of you that say no, the less they're going to be able to take advantage of everybody else around, as well as yourself. So I'd like to ask briefly for yourselves, put in the comments why you think it's okay to say oh no, or say no. I love reading that, Vicky. I've just seen that in the comments. I've been a good girl and going to bed early since you mentioned that. I'm really pleased to see that, my lovely. And that's great to see, Jo. And I know you've been doing some fantastic things around, not drinking for 6 months. It's been a game changer. And I'm sure it's also made you so much healthier and more focused, and you're concentrating better. So it's good when you learn to self-love. Yes, valuing your time, Jo. Keeping your energy up, yeah, and respecting your space and peace of mind. I love that, Vanessa. And focus on what matters, Zara. Yep, absolutely perfect. And of course, we've already mentioned it, a couple of things in there. And I hopefully you guys are okay that we're running over, because I think it's an important topic. So we've got the importance is around self-care. When we prioritise, when we do say no, we're able to prioritise our own self-care. So our mental and our physical well-being improves. And as you've always said, it prevents the burnout. It gives us more focus and productivity to allocate your time on more effective tasks, which will increase your focus, your productivity, and your professional endeavours. It's going to enhance your decision-making. So you make better decisions from a clear mind, and you're not stretched too thin, and you're not overwhelmed by the demands around you. And interestingly, my husband said the other day, he said one of the problems that he used to have with his boss, always saying yes to everything, female boss, felt like she had to prove it. He said not only did she get all the extra tasks, so did we. And he said, and then we got overwhelmed. So not only are you damaging your own team, yourself, you're also damaging your own team, which then makes your whole team show up as underperformers. And that's why it's so important to focus on what's right for you as a team. So only say yes when it's something that is your specific task. Wait for other people to volunteer, and you volunteer when it's a task that's suited for you and your team and your skills and capabilities. So you show up as the leader that should be doing it. Of course, it's going to improve your work-life balance. So it means that it won't impact your relationships. You get more respect and show up with more professionalism. Because when you assertively communicate and uphold your boundaries, you're more likely to be respected with your time, your expertise, and your personal needs, which will obviously enhance your professional image. And it will also foster healthier working relationships. Plus, you have more creativity and innovation, which I know, Vicky, as someone that's very creative, that's always something that's a benefit. And of course, when you're nurturing your creativity, that creates far more opportunities. Yeah. And it builds resilience as well, because you're recognizing and responding to your limits, empowering you to overcome the challenges and setbacks more effectively. Plus, it gives you more authenticity and self-expression. And having those boundaries to express your true self, your true values, your true opinions, without fear of compromise, enables you to show up your authentic self, both personally and professionally. And of course, your overall well-being, learning to love yourself and respect yourself and cultivate a healthier and happy lifestyle. And you know what? We all deserve it, because we're all beautiful and we deserve to be loved. And of course, all of this will help with your self-confidence, your self-beliefs, your self-growth. And of course, you become more compassionate of others because you're not feeling resentful for them. And these are the reasons why you should be able to say no. So the other final point I want to say on this is that, of course, it helps you to sustain your personal and professional growth because you're avoiding the excessive demands of your life. Now, before I go any further, what I'd like to share with you right now is but before I do that, I'd love for you to put in a chat how you, thank you, Vicky. I'd love you to put in a chat whether you're going to actually find some way by respecting your own boundaries and learning to say no. And one of the things that I would invite you to do, like my client did, is have a think about some of the things that might be causing you a degree of resentment in your life, a degree of frustration, so that you have the power and the strength to say no. Look at those things and see what changes that you can make. So I don't need you to share them within our chat. What I would like you to do is write them down on a piece of paper for yourself and have a look at each one of those and see what is causing you to feel that resentment. And what can you do to change that narrative so you can then show up as a leader that you truly deserve to be, and being able to do it in a way that you can become even more stress-free. Okay. So I'm just going to share my desktop. And hopefully, just going to move that out of the way. Make sure I've got the PowerPoint on the screen. And make sure I've actually shared it. Have I shared my screen, guys? Is that actually sharing? No, it's not sharing. Oh, I love it when you don't actually press the button. How many do that? Raise your hand if you think you've shared your screen and you haven't. On many occasions. Yeah, thanks, Vanessa. Yeah, I'm not the only one. Along with putting yourself on silent or switching your video camera off. So once again, ladies, I just want to say thank you for joining me today. And just a quick reminder about my launch price offer for the event that's taking place on the 8th of September. And now we've got the wonderful dogs that are barking. Oh dear, don't you love it? Right, so launch price offer, it's a one-time offer, and the reason why it's a one-time offer is because it's the first time I've held it at this event, and I want everybody that attends to be able to give me feedback on the event, the location, on how we can actually improve things and make sure that the next time we actually hold the event, it's even better than it was the last time. So first of all, if you'd like to find out more, you can scan the QR code that's there. It's a launch price offer of, I've actually shared the wrong one there. So bear with me just 2 seconds. Again, technology in its way. Oh dear. I love that we have this. Right, so bear with me. On the upside, you can all have a look at my wonderful bridge that's on the Isle of Sheppey, and which has 2 bridges, and it's a beautiful sunset. So Right, so I hope you guys are feeling very, very patient with me at the moment. So, and I respect that I've gone overrun on my time. So, there. Okay, I'm going to go back to that one, and I don't know why it's playing. Right, okay. So launch price is, so if you could scan the QR code for the registration on there, and it's the stress-free risk resolution that you'll be coached in. And there'll be masterclasses, meditation and yoga, 12 weeks of live Zoom, and the online training program. And of course, I would love you to actually attend. And if you'd like more information on this specific program, I don't know where that's gone. And if you'd like more specific information on this program, my screen's not showing again. Guys, I'm really, I don't know what's gone there. Oh, technical issues. I don't know what's actually happened there, but it's just disappeared off my screen. Anyway, I'm going to invite you guys to scan. I don't know where that's actually gone. Sorry, my QR code that I actually had there for a call with me, if you want to have more information, and it's now gone. So I'm now going a bit red. So if you'd like more information, yeah, the QR code did come up. Yeah, it came up for the actual offer, Joe, but not for the one if you'd like to actually book a call with me to learn more information. And instead, it's actually dropped off. So all best laid plans. So I'm just going to share in the link my Calendly, because for some reason my image. Oh, stop sharing. Stop sharing. Thank you. It's just gone a bit peaked on. Good job is that I actually don't get stressed about these things anymore, whereas I used to. Right. Thank you ever so much for your patience, everybody. I'm going to put a link in the chat if you've not been able to look at the program itself. So there you go. There. So if you want to learn more about the actual event itself, then please click on the link for the Calendly that's in the chat, and you can have the opportunity to book a meeting with me and find out more. But what I would like to do is thank you all, because I know we've gone 15 minutes over than planned. Thank you for your time today, and I hope you've had some tips and learnings from today's call, and hopefully you're going to be taking those forwards. And what I would once again remind you is, please write down anything in your life that's actually causing you a degree of frustration and resent. And with those, each one of those, look at how you can actually change that narrative and be able to learn to say no instead, and give yourself the time and the love that you need. Okay? All right. So, I'm pleased to hear that, Vicky. Thank you very much. Thank you, Barbara and Vanessa and Joanne and Zara, everybody that's on the call. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and hopefully it's been some benefit for you today.
Oh, definitely, 100%. Yeah, there's certainly a few things I'm going to include in the presentation, so really good stuff. Thank you.
Okay, excellent.
And I'll catch up with you too outside of this for the event.
Yes, excellent. That'd be fantastic, right. Joe.
Good to meet you all. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
You too. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.